a day. I mean, holy, what a day. Like, incredible. Press conference today, announced as the coach, and then to end the day with the #1 pick. I mean, does it get any better than that, really?
Breaking news. The Indiana Fever have parted ways with head coach Christie Sides. You heard that right. The same coach who just led them to their first playoff appearance since 2016 is now out of a job. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But trust me, there's a method to this madness. The context of this coaching change is even more dramatic when you consider the bigger picture.
And it's just surface level right now.
You've had a couple days to decompress after this first 26 games of the season. Just what's your biggest takeaway from the first 26?
Pretty incredible, Chloe. Just the games that we played with the fans in the stands.
The Fever are now the 6th WNBA team out of 12 to part ways with their head coach this offseason. That's right, half the league is looking for new leadership. The coaching carousel began spinning when the Los Angeles Sparks fired Curt Miller on September 24th, followed by the Chicago Sky letting go of Teresa Weatherspoon 2 days later. The Atlanta Dream, Dallas Wings, and Washington Mystics all followed suit in October. Sides went 33, 47 in her 2 seasons.
Playing in front of sold-out arenas every night, even in the preseason, even in our games early, to play in front of fans like that, it's just so awesome that these players are getting that opportunity.
And helped lead the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016. She coached 2 #1 picks and Rookies of the Year.
Grace was?
Yeah.
What?
Are we sure?
You played with anyone? Yeah.
Grace, you're a state champion golfer? Why did you hide that from me? She was on the team. They didn't.
And Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. See, the Fever aren't just looking to be good anymore, they want to be great. They're looking to bring a championship back to Indiana. Sides, who was just 47 years old, had 2 years remaining on her 4-year contract when she was let go. Her overall record with the Fever stood at 33, 47, including a 13-27 mark in 2023, and this year's improved 20-20 showing. They've got Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying player in the league. They've got Aliyah Boston, a rising dominant star.
I think it's definitely, we're not coming here to just shoot around and, waste time. Like, we're here to work and get better and compete hard, and our practice boys have done a great job too.
I believe Grace was a state champion in high school for golf if you played with them.
They've got Kelsey Mitchell, the perfect backcourt complement to Clark, and they've got Lexi Hull, the most accurate 3-point shooter in the league. Not to mention enough cap space to sign some quality free agents. Now they need a coach who can turn this talent into titles.
Person is going to be helping on Caitlin with all the, between her and Kelsey, they draw so much attention. We just got to be ready. If you're wide open, take that shot or attack the rim.
I know you're looking for a little bit more out of your post play. How do you get Aliyah and Alyssa going even more?
Yeah, Jacqueline Jones is tough. She's so long, and I think AB's missed a couple, and it's just really gotten in her head a little bit. I need her to...
Remember when the Indiana Fever were the laughingstock of the WNBA? Well, those days are over, folks. For years, the Fever struggled to build a competitive team, wallowing in mediocrity, and watching the playoffs from their couches.
Oh gosh, these 3 guys, playing in this game, wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I missed Kelsey last night in the skills challenge. We had a event last night, a funeral yesterday.
It was a far cry from their championship days with Tamika Catchings. Then came the 2024 season, and with it, the arrival of Caitlin Clark. The hype was real. Fans were buzzing. This was supposed to be the year everything changed.
More aggressive. We just got to make sure that we handle that, find that open person who's going to be helping on Caitlin.
And then the Fever stumbled out of the gates with a dismal 1-8 record. Ouch. Suddenly, all that excitement turned to frustration.
Yeah, they've both been tremendous. I thought they played great defense. They've made great decisions out of the pick and roll or pick and pop. We got to keep going to them.
Fans were calling for Coach Christie Sides' head. It looked like the same old Fever. The Fever's early season schedule was particularly brutal.
I've been waiting on this moment because I was so happy and proud of what our players did last year to get us where we are today. And we're just in a much...
ESPN Analytics deemed it the toughest in the WWNBA prior to the Olympic break, with 11 games in their first 20 days, including 3 against New York and 2 against Connecticut. But from June 1st to September 10th, the Fever boasted the 3rd best record in the league at 18-9.
So it's just a really exciting time for the Indiana Fever.
Saw Caitlin smack the board at the end of practice when that 3-pointer didn't go in. We get to see a little glimpse of it, but what's she like in practice for
Even more impressively, their offensive rating of 109.6 points per 100 possessions was the best in the league after the Olympic break. The pressure got to her. 100% got to her, one insider noted. Remember at the start of the year she was saying, "Oh, Caitlin has all these bad habits," and throwing players under the bus saying, "We need more paint touches." She just had no idea early in the year how to coach Caitlin. I have to give her credit though. She actually did get better as the year went on.
Yeah, I mean, she's, they're all really competitive, and that's what is going to drive us, our competitive spirit. I mean, we want to make sure that we're the hardest working, most competitive team in the gym. They want to win everything, and we were in that we were working on some late game stuff, and I mean, she didn't get the shot. She got fouled on the one shot, so she went to the free throw line and tied it up for us. I mean, she's going to get those shots, and she's going to hit them, and we're going to give her that opportunity.
What went into the waivers this weekend? Did you guys still have some tweaks?
Just when everyone was ready to write them off, the Fever caught fire. They went on an absolute tear, winning 19 of their next 31 games. It was like watching a completely different team. The ball was moving, shots were falling, and suddenly the Fever were fun to watch again. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark for a second. This player wasn't just good, she was historically good. Clark was breaking records left and right, showcasing an all-around game that had fans and analysts alike in awe. The turnaround was so dramatic that Christie Sides, the same coach fans wanted fired earlier in the season, was named WNBA Coach of the Month for August. Talk about a plot twist. It was the first time a Fever coach had received that honor in a long time. Despite all this success, there were still whispers, rumblings that maybe, just maybe, the team could be even better. Clark herself hinted at some frustrations with the coaching staff. In one telling moment, she admitted, "Nobody gives me advice in the game. I wish." That's not exactly a glowing endorsement of your head coach's in-game management. When the playoffs rolled around, the Fever were bounced in the first round by the Connecticut Sun. It was a harsh reminder that while they'd come far, there was still a long way to go. Making the playoffs wasn't enough to save Sides' job. The Fever's front office had bigger plans, and they were about to drop a bombshell that would shake the entire WNBA. The winds of change were already blowing through Indianapolis. The Fever had recently appointed a new president in Kelly Krauskopf, who was the architect of the previous Fever championship with Tamika Catchings, and most recently part of the Indiana Pacers front office. They then relieved GM Lynn Dunn of her duties, moving her to an advisory role. Afterwards, they hired league veteran insider Amber Cox to become general manager, capitalizing on her deep connections with league teams, agents, and players. The writing was on the wall. The timing of the decision seems particularly surprising, given Krauskopf's comments earlier this month at her introductory news conference. "It takes time," Krauskopf had said. "It took a long time for the teams that I've had to gel and to get together. I mean, years. It doesn't happen in 4 months. It takes a few years. I was really impressed with the progress that they made and how Christie is a resilient leader. She's a culture builder." However, in announcing the coaching change, Krauskopf struck a different tone. While decisions like these are never easy, it is also imperative that we remain bold and assertive in the pursuit of our goals, which includes maximizing our talent and bringing another WNBA championship back to Indiana. Coach Sides was an incredible representative of the Fever and our community, and we wish her nothing but success in the future. Sides handled her departure with remarkable grace, posting a simple but powerful message on social media: "Leave it better than you found it." Christie Sides deserves credit for what she accomplished. She helped with team morale, bonding, and keeping everyone's head up. She excelled at the mental aspects of the game, which are just as important as anything in basketball. As one insider noted, she did a good job handling all the social media stuff, especially early on. We saw what happened with the Chicago Sky with Teresa Weatherspoon when she did a horrible job. Sides managed that aspect well, but in the cutthroat world of professional sports, sometimes good isn't good enough. The Fever are clearly aiming higher, and they believe Sides' coaching ceiling just wasn't high enough to get them where they want to go. Let's break down the reasons behind this shocking decision. First and foremost, defense was a major issue all season long. The Fever's defensive struggles were glaring, especially when it mattered most. Throughout the regular season, their defensive rating was among the lowest of all teams. They just couldn't seem to get stops when they needed them most, often losing close games due to late defensive lapses and bad play calls. In a league where defense wins championships, this was a red flag that couldn't be ignored. As one analyst put it, a lot of the things she did well were good assistant coach things. Things you want from a good assistant coach, not your head coach. Was she good at in-game adjustments? No. Was she good at making subs? No. Was she good at seeing what the other teams were doing and game planning for that? No. Then, there's the question of maximizing Caitlin Clark's otherworldly talents. While Clark had an incredible debut season, breaking records left and right, some people within the organization felt that Sides wasn't doing enough to fully unleash Clark's potential. The Fever clearly believe they can find a coach who can take Clark's game to even greater heights. The return of Kelly Krauskopf as president of basketball operations is perhaps the biggest factor in this decision. Folks, this is a game changer. Krauskopf isn't just any executive. She's the architect of the Fever's most successful era. From 2000 to 2018, she led this franchise to 13 playoff appearances, 3 WNBA finals, and 1 championship. She knows what it takes to build a champion, and she's not here to mess around. Talk about a high-stakes game of musical chairs. 6 WNBA teams are scrambling for new coaches, but only one has Caitlin Clark on their roster. The front-runner appears to be Stephanie White, and this would be a homecoming for the ages. White isn't just any coach. She's Indiana basketball royalty. She played her college ball at Purdue, led the Fever as a player, and even coached them to the WNBA Finals in 2015. White is currently under contract with the Connecticut Sun, where she just won the 2023 Coach of the Year award. Her coaching style could be exactly what the Fever need. She's known for her emphasis on strong defense, which would address one of the team's biggest weaknesses from last season. The historical context makes this hire even more crucial. Looking at the history of generational talents like Clark, the majority have maximized their potential under their second WNBA head coach. Of the 6 number 1 picks in league history who went on to win MVP, Lauren Jackson, Maya Moore, Nneka Ogwumike, Candace Parker, Brianna Stewart, and Diana Taurasi, 4 of them won their first championships with their team's second full-time head coach. Perhaps the most relevant comparison comes from the Seattle Storm's experience with Lauren Jackson and Sue Bird, who, like Boston and Clark, were drafted first overall in back-to-back years. After making the playoffs with their initial coach, the Storm hired Ann Donovan, who led them to a championship just 2 years later when Bird and Jackson were both 23. The Fever clearly hoped to follow a similar trajectory. However, there's also a cautionary tale in Candace Parker's experience with the Los Angeles Sparks. After Michael Cooper's departure, the Sparks cycled through multiple coaches before Brian Agler finally brought stability to the organization. Parker didn't win her first championship until age 30, a scenario the Fever desperately want to avoid with Clark in Boston. "It's exciting," White recently commented. "I was born and raised in Indiana, so I have a lot of pride in Indiana basketball and a lot of pride in the Fever organization, being a player and a coach there. It's exciting what's happening with the organization and where they are. Most organizations have their ups and downs, certainly, but I'm proud of the growth of the Indiana Fever and excited about their future." But don't go penciling in White's name just yet. There's another intriguing candidate who could shake things up, Lisa Bluder. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Bluder was Caitlin Clark's college coach at Iowa. Her resume is nothing to sneeze at. She's won over 875 games in her coaching career and led Iowa to back-to-back NCAA championship game appearances. She's the all-time winningest coach in women's Big Ten history. The woman knows how to win, plain and simple. "Caitlin's light shines on all of you," Bluder once said to her Iowa team. "I try to remind our team of that all the time. We're going to enjoy that light, and it helps all of us." The thought of reuniting Clark with her college coach is enough to make Fever fans giddy. After all, nobody knows Clark's game better than Bluder. She helped transform Clark from a highly touted recruit into the most electrifying player in women's basketball. The chemistry is already there, which could make for a smooth transition as Clark enters her sophomore WNBA season. There's just one tiny wrinkle. Bluder recently retired from coaching and has publicly stated that she's unlikely to return to the sidelines. But here's where it gets interesting. Fever fans have been vocal about wanting Bluder for the job, and we all know the influence Clark has. Could the opportunity to coach Clark again be enough to lure Bluder out of retirement? Stranger things have happened in the world of sports. Then there's the wild card, Cheryl Miller. Yes, that Cheryl Miller, the basketball legend, the Hall of Famer, the woman who changed the game. Miller has coaching experience in the WNBA, but hasn't clearly expressed interest in returning to the league. Her name carries weight in basketball circles everywhere, including the Hoosier State. Bringing in Miller would be a bold move, no doubt about it. She's got the star power, the basketball IQ, and the winning pedigree. Plus, she already has proven success with Clark, leading the All-Star team to crush the U.S. Olympic team during the 2024 All-Star Game. I hugged her and said, "I'm so proud of you," Miller recalled of a moment with Clark. Savor this. Use this as a formula, but keep being you. No matter what, keep being you. Whoever takes this job is either going to be criticized, maybe wrongfully, but criticized more than your average coach, one insider noted. But if you succeed, you are the GOAT coach. If somebody wins 3 rings with Caitlin Clark, and let's just say Cheryl Reeve has won 4 with Maya Moore, whoever wins 3 rings with Clark is going to be considered the best coach of all time. In this era of increased resources and unprecedented attention on the WNBA, the stakes have never been higher. Teams are investing more in facilities and travel, reaping greater financial rewards from ticket sales and sponsorships. This has led to greater urgency to win, and win big. But as one league insider noted, there's a delicate balance between prioritizing immediate success and maintaining the stability needed to build something special over time. The Fever haven't had a coach last longer than 3 seasons since Lynn Dunn's tenure from 2008 to 2014. As they embark on yet another coaching search, they're hoping this time they'll find the perfect leader to turn their young stars into champions. The clock is ticking, the spotlight is bright, and the basketball world is watching.